Take a look at this. A lot of people comparing Josh Heupel to Lane Kiffin. I thought this just some numbers that people need to pay attention to. Years as a head coach. Because they look about the same age, people think, well, they're equal. Nope, Lane Kiffin has 16 years as a head coach. The Raiders, Tennessee, USC, FAU, Ole Miss. Josh Heupel just in his 8th year. Years at current school, 5 for Heupel, 6 for Kiffin. Look at the ranked opponents, though. In 5 years, Josh Heupel has played 23. In 6 years, Lane Kiffin has only played 19. So a little bit different every year. Heupel's facing a tougher schedule versus ranked foes. Heupel 10-13, Kiffin 10-9, and look at the ranked SEC foes. Doesn't look good, 6-12 versus 7-8. But the difference is how many times you play Alabama and Georgia. You get them both every year, and then you throw in Ohio State. Nobody in the country has played Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State 11 times in the last 5 years, other than Josh Heupel. All right, so you're 2-9 against those. Nobody else has beaten Alabama twice in the last 5 years. So when you look at that, it changes the perspective a little bit. And then losses to unranked foes, you got 7 for Kiffin, 5 for Heupel. I just think there's a little perspective to be had there when you're comparing these two. And also when you're looking at Heupel, well, he loses 2 games a year. Well, if you put Alabama, Georgia, and throw out a playoff game against Ohio State on anybody else's schedule, they're probably going to be losing a couple of games a year. Now, if you find up 7-5, I get it. That's a different beast. But I just think people need to keep those numbers in mind, and I don't think they do.
I think it's that, and I also think sometimes you just want a likable coach, one who just goes out there, and Lane goes out there and says what he wants to say, and he tweets what he wants to tweet, and he goes on with Paul Feinbaum and elbows him, and there's that ha-ha back and forth. Josh Heupel just wants to be like, it's whatever, let's go play football. We've tried that with him before, and guess what he's done? Well, Josh, do you know how great of a coach you are? Here are the numbers. Yeah, those are just numbers. Where's the football question?
Exactly.
You don't want to talk about that.
I want to go back to the film room.
The other side of it's people don't watch games, right? People watch their one game, maybe.
Yes.
And if they do it, they're scrolling their phone half the time. So they're not paying attention to Lane losing against Kentucky.
There you go.
Almost losing Kentucky this year because he just stupidly decided I'm going to show Mark Stoops that I can play his game better than he can.
Right.
Like, we see this all the time when you watch a high volume of games. But people don't. They just see.
That's the thing.
Lane has Ole Miss at 9-3. Tennessee's better than Ole Miss, even though Tennessee started in a bigger hole than Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think that's the key is we lose perspective. We sit here, and I can't sit here every week and say, well, we're nitpicking, because if you did this at every school, but the reality is, if we were covering Alabama, we'd be sitting there every week looking at, well, why does DeBoer do this?
I'd be talking about why they do that stupid bunch set I just told you guys off the air.
So part of it is you're laying out things that could be a problem down the road for your team that could cost them. So that you look at it with a critical eye, that makes sense. That's what I want on coverage of my Celtics, my Patriots. So we do that here. At the same time, there are people out there who just hear that and go, yeah, our coach sucks. And they don't watch these other coaches. And like you say, it's like Kiffin's taking shots at people on Twitter, which is cool.
Yeah.
And he's got this record. He's like, well, he's not playing who you're playing.
And he's losing just as many games with an easier schedule.
It'll be interesting to see starting next year, because everybody's going to have a harder schedule, and everybody's going to play everybody else in the SEC every 2 years. Now we're going to see where Heupel is, where Kiffin is, where these guys are, because they're all going to be in this meat grinder. And that's going to give you a truer perspective, because it's not just, well, we play these two every year and they don't.
I asked you off the air on our show Friday where we were, and I said, are we good with the clock?
No.
Okay.
But go.
Quickly, I asked you, is Lane Kiffin the hottest candidate no matter who comes up, no matter what coach availability happens? And you go, yeah, absolutely. If Josh Heupel was in the candidacy right now that Lane Kiffin was, would he
Lane
be the
would
best?
still be the hotter candidate because that's what boosters want.
There you go.
He makes more noise.
Yes, yeah, I think that's exactly right. Lane Kiffin can lose and no one cares.
There you go.
He lost to Georgia, beat him a couple of weeks ago, and the talk was, that's who Penn State should go get. It was like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if Heupel loses that game, it's ceiling, he's got a ceiling.